Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. As your host, David McCaig Jr. The Game is powered by 91 Network and featured on Spaces. 91N is a YouTube channel where video editions of the game are posted, so check that out. Hit like, follow, and subscribe. You can also check out all audio editions of the game on any audio platform, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there. You can follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, at the Game Sports Podcast. And as I mentioned, we're featured on Spaces, which is through Soo Today and Village Media. Check out your space today through SooToday.com. Now, Dave McCaig here, as mentioned, with the Game Sports Podcast, and we have an action-packed show as always for you here. We're going to have Brendan McCarthy joining me very shortly, and we're going to be talking hockey from the national perspective. Jordan Trudeau will be joining yours truly to talk hockey from a local and major junior perspective, and then they'll be In the Pocket. And In the Pocket this week will be me solo once again. We know that you love Dave when he talks about football independently, because In the Pocket is more enjoy when there's family at the table, but you're going to have just yours truly for the In the Pocket segment. Now, if we have time, we might dive into a little bit of baseball when Trude's here, but that will remain to be seen. If not, we will make up for it next week, because there's going to be a lot of action that happens anyways. Well, hopefully, as updates happen with free agency and the off season for the baseball season. Now, nonetheless, let's get into the normal introduction. I wanted to formally welcome 3 interns that are joining the Game Sports Podcast and 91N team, and that is Danica, Taryn, and Jerry. So Jerry will be working on production in the background, editing, and Danica will be doing social media and guest outreach, and Taryn will be doing a lot of the research and the branding for the Game Sports Podcast in 91N. So I want to formally say welcome to them, to our team that's been together for over a decade. This is our 10th year of the Game Sports Podcast. That's wild to think about, everybody. Just think about that. We've been doing this since 2016, live radio, moved to podcast because of COVID. Now I like looking at myself through a cam. Okay. And I think everyone in this family likes to look at themselves through a cam, especially this lad that I'm going to introduce. Just kidding. All right. I'm just happy that he's able to join us here this week. We've had a lot of challenges with our top shelf piece because of scheduling and people moving, people working, other schedule conflicts and personal matters. So you know what? We try to bring you the consistent upload. And this week we got a fair bit to talk about from the NHL and national hockey perspective. So let's get right into top shelf and bring in Brendan McCarthy. Cart, it's been a while since I've said that, my man. How you doing?
Doing great, buddy. You're looking pretty spiffy. Looks like you're going to a gala or something.
I know. I didn't take off this shirt since coming home from work. It's one of those moments. Ran in through the door, had our weekly meeting with the interns that have joined our family, then jumping to do this. You know, it just doesn't stop. But it's, you know what? I don't mind the look of this on this week. I kind of feel like a little, I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe we had a week off last week. We had a special edition uploaded last week with Ryan Sproul, which was mint. Should have talked about that at the beginning. That was a drop on me. But you know what? Coming back after a week away, I had to dress a little extra.
You look like $1 million.
You do too. I'm not gonna lie. You got the nice sweater on. You got the hat. You always look just like proper. You know, you look well maintained, my man. I shouldn't know if I should say that, but I just did. Okay, I just did.
That is an excellent compliment. I'll take that.
And I like your background. I see that Maple Leaf cup right there, and I see your Instagram picture. That's a thing behind there too. I love looking at people's backgrounds. It's great. I've just had to edit mine and move Vlad, and I'm a little bit scared to keep this one up. Not going to lie. Might have to look at an adjustment in the very near future. But today we were thinking about talking about the Canada Olympic team. And to be transparent with you, I want to see, and hopefully Park can join us next week. I'd like to be able to predict the team next week with the 3 of us there. And then I'm sure you agree with that, Brennan. So I am going to disappoint people and say that, I know I said on a previous session, we're going to predict that. But you know what? There's so much time until the Olympics that, you know what? You can wait another week. So we're not going to dive into the Olympic pick. And I want to make sure that we do it in a little bit of a different fashion. We talk Canada, we're going to talk USA, we're going to talk Finland, we're going to talk some of those higher profile teams, let's call them, and we're going to predict those rosters for you, which will be great clips for you to enjoy. You get to wait another week before we dive into that, okay? Look, the NHL season's underway, and you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. It's well underway. We are 20, 19, 20, 21 games in, and I can't believe I blinked and we're at that because I've been just so absorbed by the Toronto Blue Jays. And after the Blue Jays lost, I'm still not past that hangover. I'm still very sad. I'm so damn proud of that team, but it's so damn sad what happened that it just sucked the sports soul right out of me, I feel like, because of the way they lost. So I forgive, or I apologize to the Maple Leafs and to the NHL in general, which I'm sure you're not missing my one view, but I haven't dove into as much as I want to. But I'm also a little bit upset about the team that I cheer for, Brennan. But let's go and talk about the National Hockey League. What do you say about that for this edition this week and any kind of roundtable? How's that sound with you?
Let's rock, buddy.
Let's rock. Okay, so let's go around and talk about some surprises. Let's give a little bit the Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe a little bit of the end. Look, 21 games in, still early. A lot of things can happen, okay? But is there someone or something that has stood out to you to this point early in the season? Is something that caught your eye besides the Colorado Avalanche only having one regulation loss up to this point, 19 games in?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stands out is something that happened off the ice for a team that's leading the Metro, and that's the New Jersey Devils. The Jack Hughes dinner incident where
Yes.
he effed up his hand and he's being forced to miss like 8 weeks, and they're kind of being tight to the vest about it. But all I keep thinking is that they played that like knife game where they try to like rattle it off in between your fingers, and maybe they had too many glasses of wine or something. And I mean, could you imagine that was the case? Like, because they're saying, oh, he accidentally, last I heard, like he accidentally touched some sharp shards of glass or something. I'm like, come on. I think they were horsing around and they were yucking it up because rightly so, on a bit of a heater, typical Keefe, regular season juggernaut, and maybe things got out of hand. They're like, let's just, try this. Everyone has heard of it, and it's all across social media. It's been a thing for a while, not even just like a social media thing, but I always think of that scene in Ted when Flash Gordon's doing it with Ted and Johnny.
That's a great example. Great example.
Right? So that one is just a bizarre hockey story. I think it's kind of hilarious too. Like, obviously, like, I hope he gets better, but I just think it's like, it's so bizarre and just like comical how it's posted too. It's just like Jack Hughes out with non-hockey related injury. And then it's like, oh no. And then it's just like, he was eating steak and red wine. Like, how, you know what I mean? So that one is wild to me. But yeah, other than that, it's really good to see like parity back in the NHL. I think that's pretty damn clear. Obviously, Colorado has just been an absolute wagon, and you look at the East, and yeah, it's unfortunate with the Leafs. I don't think anyone really expected this. Winless in their last 5 coming into tonight's game against the Blues. And you know what? I was joking about it with my cousin Johnny on the way home. I gave him a call when I was driving home, and it's funny because if they were cooking or they were in the position Boston is right now, the narrative would be like, well, it doesn't even matter. They always do this. It only matters when we get to April, right?
Yeah, they choke second round or they don't make the first,
right?
Whatever. Yeah, regulars and heroes, whatever people want to say.
Yeah, but also it's just really how they're playing. Like, if they were like working their bag off and they're they're right there, but it's just down to like a goal, or they're in it and it's just like Florida Panther style hockey where you just right till the buzzer goes, you're just working your ass off. But it's really, Dave, I think what people are pissed off about is the poor effort is just, it's almost like unbelievable. I was at the game a few weeks ago against the Penguins, and it was like the worst 40 minutes of hockey I have ever watched. They basically just said, like, do what you want, Pitt. Do what you want.
Then woke up third.
And yeah, I was yawning. People were chanting, "Let's go Blue Jays." This was a couple days after they lost to the Dodgers in 7. So that was kind of funny. I had like center ice 13 rows up, so my seats were pretty incredible. So I was like, I don't want to go, but this is just brutal. And then third period, they somehow won it. But again, not a good game. I don't think they've had one good game this year. Not one.
You know what? And you know what I want to say, and I'll let you ask it to me in a proper way. So, Brennan,
Yeah.
please ask me, how do you feel about the Leafs play this year? I'll let you ask me that, so it sounds a little more professional. Ask me that.
Dave, how do you feel about the Leafs play this year?
One word is uninspired.
Mm.
That's the word I want to use, and I can't even take credit for that word. My wife said it. I will give her credit for that, and it has stayed in here in my head since she said it. And it was said that game against Pittsburgh.
Right.
We were watching, I'll be honest, I turned it off after 40.
I wish I could. I wish I could have.
And you know what I said? I said, now that I turned it off, I bet you they come back. And they did. But
yeah,
that's the funny thing.
Imagine live betting on that. I had a few buddies who actually live betted just for shits and giggles.
Oh, I wish I would have. Anyway, the thing is, uninspired. I don't want to compare the Blue Jays. I try not to do that, but I'm going to. Two different sports, I understand. But you know what I see when I see the Blue Jays? I see a team that will battle for each other, a team that loves each other, a team that has that mix that they don't give up. There's no quitting them. This was a baseball team that had led the league in comebacks this year. Never were out of a game, and you were proud of this team. When they lost a game, you know that they tried. When they got blown out of a game, okay, that sucked, but it happened once in a blue moon, and not much after they were 26 and 28 or whatever 4 months ago, whatever it was. The Leafs are so uninspiring to watch. I look at this team and I'm like, what is this caca-poo-poo on the ice? Matthews is not Matthews. Nylander is someone I've praised about from playoff performance and had some great seasons, but Stolar's calling him out way earlier in the season. Already that
I told you that'd come back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, that team dynamic gone right there. Nylander, no effort. Michelli, that project ain't working too well right now. And you know what? Yeah, you can't replace Mitch Marner. You can't replace him. They brought in guys to fill gaps and help change DNA, but they didn't address that need for the top six, and they put the heaviness on someone like Matthias Michelli, okay, who is not going to be your Mitch Marner, despite how good of a playmaker that he is. He ain't setting up Poppy like Mitch Marner was, okay? You're missing that in your top six. Your defense, Morgan Riley, uninspiring. All these guys that I can just go off every word I think of as uninspiring, and I watch them, I care as much as they do, which is nothing. I feel like when I watch them, it's nothing. And I know that I'd be wrong. I know that's not true. And I don't know if they're just giving up and throwing in the towel because they want Berube fired like they wanted the last three guys fired.
He's not going anywhere.
He ain't going anywhere. Ain't. This team,
you know what?
Them need to step up because Johnny Tavares is the only guy I've enjoyed to watch this year when I've watched them. The only guy. The whole team is uninspiring, Brennan.
You know what's crazy? And I mean, the Raptors will always be the little brother to the Leafs just because people are just like crazy about the Leafs in the city of Toronto, right? I didn't even realize till this morning the Raptors are absolutely rolling right now. I think they're fourth in the East. I think they've won 8 of 10 games.
Team's hot. It's hot.
They're rolling, and everyone's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, Brandon Ingram is an absolute stallion, and kudos to Bobby Webster, but man, like, this is how crazy people get about the Leafs. Like, they don't even factor in the Raptors at all. And for the Maple Leafs, man, before we came on here, Nyes is now day-to-day. That's Matthews, Stolarz, Tanev, Lawton, Carlo, Waugh, Nyes. It's basically Nylander, Tavares, and the Marlies playing tonight. Like, like, I'm hoping this is the worst it's going to get, because since Matthews came into the league in the Matthews era, all the Leafs have ever known is regular season success, right? So I guess the glass half full mentality would be get the crap out of the way now, and by March, April, they'll have things locked in. Because basically since January every season, they know they're a lock or they're playing frickin' Tampa Bay in the opening round.
Florida,
so maybe it's
whoever the heck it is.
Right. Yeah. So maybe it's like, hey, you know what? You actually have to scratch tooth and nail to get into the playoffs, and maybe you're a wild card spot, but you have to go right till game 82 to know who you're playing. Maybe it's a Metro team. Maybe it's someone fresh. Berube, yeah, people criticize it because it's, be heavy on the puck, hard forechecking, nothing fancy, right? But again, he did it with the Blues. The Blues were dead last January 2019. They went on to win the Cup against the Bruins at TD Garden. So he's not some schmuck. Like, people are like, fire Berube. I'm like, no, they're not firing Berube. Like,
Fire. It's like fire.
it's always just like, and this is what pisses me off. This is what pisses me off is because it's always the player. This is like, it's not us. I'm like, at some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to, like, put my balls on the line to get a chip? I don't know if that's in the Leafs DNA, and maybe that's what they're going to be labeled as in this era. But like, I'm tired of the, like, you know what? It's not working. The coach isn't working. It's not the coach. It's the goddamn players. And maybe it's going to be the era that's just labeled as the country club era. They're all fancy schmancy in the regular season, the individual feats and whatnot. And then when you actually have to, go through the slime and the mud, it's like, no, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Right?
And Tree Living says, I take blame. And you know what? I don't feel Tree Living. I know why he did that. We understand why he did that. But I don't think it needs to be pointed to him. I will give Tree Living credit for the effort that he tried this offseason to alter DNA and make moves. And he built a good decor there in Toronto when healthy. And I still think there's more he could have done or maybe did different, but I ain't pointing it on him. I ain't pointing at Berube.
He said the team's vanilla right now.
I love it. And I love it. I love it. Call them out. Is it great? No, it's not great for team morale. It's not going to help any situation. Hopefully it puts a fire up, you know what, but call it a spade to spade. Call it how it is. You know what? Say that these guys are not playing to expectations, and they're not. And
the new acquisitions too, you alluded to it earlier, Dave, like Dakota Joshua, like, manhandle somebody, put someone on their ass. He's done absolutely jack squat. Nick Waugh is supposed to be some defensive zone specialist. He's out now, but he has been a ghost. Matthias Michelli, like, God love him. Like, he can't make a play. Like, I don't know. Like, everyone's now ripping on, like, last year, Lawton and Carlo. I'm like, at the time, I think it made sense. And right now, they haven't lived up to expectations. They got to be better. Brandon Carlo's the tallest guy in the league, and he acts like he's 5'7". So I don't know.
The same that he did when he was on. Because
he was protected by the other grunt workers, right? Like,
yeah,
he's just like, I'll just do my thing, but I know, like, McAvoy and Marchand and, Grizzlick, like, all those guys will just take care of it for me. I'll just, like, shove people out of the way. Like, I don't know. And now they got the Blues tonight, and I know it happened 6 years ago, but, like, it is Berube's former team that he won a cup with. Like, if you're gonna start a turnaround, tonight's the night. I think it would look good on all fronts.
Yeah, especially with the team that's really injury riddled right now. But this is still a team that needs to try to find it and find it fast. It still ain't too late yet to find it, but at the same time, it's getting tight. The NHL, the parity's there. This because it has that parity, it's great. But at the same time, we got to, like, put in perspective for those Leaf fans out there that are myself and yourself and others.
I'll ask you this before we jet, Dave. What's the over-under? Put your betting hat on right now. What's the over-under at for Canadian teams making the playoffs right now?
I won't even look at standings. How's that? I'll just go by memory. You know what? Over or under? Yeah, I won't disagree. For those on video, I know they said 4. I'll say 4. 4. Like, 4, you're talking under, right? Under 4? Under 4? Are we going under 4 or you want to go over 4? Like, how do you want
under 4 or over 4, Dave?
Under 4.
You think under 4? Okay.
Under 4. Correct. Yeah. I'm going under 4.
Like,
you know what? I almost want to go exact, because when you look at the Canadian teams right now, teams that can potentially rebound and teams that are fake, right, or pretenders and contenders. We have that conversation a lot. Look at Montreal, look at these teams. Toronto is a team that could turn it around when healthy. You look at the Jets. I've always been a Jets, believer. The Canucks, Flames, like the Oilers always have slow starts, but you feel like they're going to find a way to do it. So I got to say that the Jets and the Oilers are got to be a team that make it. And I think Montreal at least makes it as a wild card team. And for the Senators to be 9-6 with Tkachuk out, like, I'm not, like, things can turn. So can the Senators drop off and Leaf go up, right? I'm going to say 4 and under. That's it.
4 and under.
Yeah. You, how about you?
So Vancouver, Calgary, Ottawa, I don't think are making it. I was high on Montreal last year. I think they'll come back down to earth. They'll probably be like a wild card spot, but they got a good team.
Yeah. I agree.
I think the Leafs will make the playoffs. They'll get in. I'm going to say that with confidence. I know it's crappy right now in Leafland, but I think they're going to make the playoffs.
I agree.
They might hold the second wild card spot, the first one. Like I think it could be Montreal and Toronto in those spots, and then the Jets and Oilers will make it. So I'm basically eliminating the 3: Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa.
Ottawa. So you're going with 4. 4
So
and
I guess I'm going 4-2. Yeah.
I think 4. And Trudes, I'll give you the question before we let Brandon go. How about you? What do you think? One word, 4, 5, 6? How many?
I'd say 4.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, that's a pretty safe. I mean, look at the point spread in the East, though. I'm just looking at it. It's crazy. 6 points between Buffalo, who's last in the whole conference, and then Boston, who's the top of the Atlantic.
That's the other thing. The parity is alive and well, right?
Anything can change, but I would say Montreal's good for a spot. Edmonton's going to come back and get a spot. Winnipeg will be there, and then
Winnipeg's the best
one. Toronto or Ottawa will make it too.
Winnipeg, even without Ehlers, is the best Canadian team in my eyes. Still, I said that. I didn't say that in the summer. I saw Toronto as one, but right now watching, Winnipeg has to be deemed as the best Canadian team. Sorry, Montreal.
I think Edmonton and Florida just have a deal under the table. It's just like, let's just kick it into high gear April 12th, and then we'll see you same time next year.
That's it. Okay, Brandon, this has been
Thanks,
top
boys.
help. I appreciate the time. We'll talk next week. We're going to predict Canada's, I don't know why I picked that up, Olympic team next week.
Yeah, Daniel Winnick, frontline center.
Love that. Love it. First line. Okay. Thanks, Brandon.
Front
line. Look, we're frazzled. We're Leaf fans. You're frazzled. I get it. Have a good night, pal.
Boys.
Now, Trudes, my friend, going right into it. Chuck-a-puck time. The puck's over there. Huck, that's already there. So, how you doing, my friend? How's
Good.
everything?
I can hear you this week, so it's good. I even reset my computer just to, make sure all engines were
all fired up. Fired
up and reset. So, that's what happens. This is the biggest problem sometimes is when you don't restart your device and then it just, it gets a little stale, and I guess it just needs to be reset sometimes. So, yeah, no, that's good. You want to jump right in here or whatever? Yeah.
I know time's a little tight, and I'm doing in the pocket solo to wrap up the show. I'm not used to doing in the pocket solo 2 weeks in a row, but hey, that happens. So getting into Chuck-a-Puck, my man, I know last week we uploaded a pretty fire episode with Ryan Sproul, a guy that you obviously loved and was your favorite Greyhound and player. The reason why you wore 5. People got to check that out. Okay, so people got to check out that episode. We got the video and audio. Sproul was a great guy. Well, we're going to have some clips uploaded for you for social media. The project on that's on my new interns for the team, are our new interns. So they're going to be working on that and getting that uploaded for you for fans to enjoy. But nonetheless, it was a great episode, Trude. So you know what? People got to check that out. So I want to make sure I promote that again. I'll probably promote it one more time before I close the show off. But because I missed it in the beginning, I did it during when Brandon was here. You're here now. I got to just find ways to keep plugging it in. But nonetheless, for the OHL this week, I want to go maybe some little small OHL update, but then I want to talk about the Soo Greyhounds and a little bit extra because obviously this week's a big week in the Soo Greyhounds, for the Soo Greyhounds and the Sault Ste. Marie community for this upcoming Saturday as the Hounds take on London for a particular special event that we'll be having here at the rink. But talking about the Ontario Hockey League right now, it's just, we're blinking and we're already in November, dude. We're already thinking we're hitting the end of November. World Juniors is around the corner. And speaking of predictions next week, I want to start chatting about predictions for that World Junior team. Okay, so we're going to be doing that next week. But let's talk about updates around the OHL. Then we'll jump right into the Hounds before we let you go and chuck that puck.
Yeah, the Brantford Bulldogs don't have a regulation loss this year yet. 21 games in.
Is that good or?
Well, here's the thing. It's impressive, but I mean, when you look at the Eastern Conference, the 4th place Peterborough Petes have 24 points. The 7th place Guelph Storm in the Western Conference have 24 points. So I don't want to be like that, but again, it's looking like a stronger Western Conference, but they do have a really solid team. They have like Adam Bennick.
When will London suck?
They have
When will London suck? That's what I. When's the last?
They made some good additions. They made some good additions in the offseason, and you know what? They still have a really solid core coming back from their Memorial Cup win. You know, like Jake O'Brien, Parker Holmes, like Adam Yurchek. You got a really Brantford has a really solid team, and they're obviously going to buy. So they're obviously gunning. They're an early favorite for the OHL championship. The Flint Firebirds are, I think, overperforming. I want to say that they probably expected last year's roster to be the contending roster, while this year's roster has really kind of caught fire as of late. Alex Kostov, the former Greyhound, I think he had like back-to-back hat trick nights or something. Like he scored like 6 or 7 goals in like 2 games or something. So they've really been on a tear as of late. And you have the team like Flint and a team like Owen Sound who are kind of overperforming, in my opinion. And then you have a team like the Kitchener Rangers, and even maybe the Greyhounds there for a little while that were underperforming, making for underperforming, as the Greyhounds are like 14-8 and the Rangers are 12-6. But still, it's making for a really competitive Western Conference, and a lot of teams kind of going back and forth at the top there for battling for top 4. It's an interesting year. It's an interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I think parity, but it's there.
Parity, yeah. Lots of things could change. Michael Misa just got hurt, and he's been scratched. Like, where is that gonna go with the World Juniors coming up? So there's lots to come, and there's a lot of changes that are coming ahead. And for the Greyhounds, you know, it was a really positive weekend, I think. Their best weekend of the season. Not I think. It was their best weekend of the season. Wins in Windsor, Kitchener, and a shootout loss to London. So that's a really, really solid step in the right direction for a team that was, you know, came home and was lackluster.
And you know what? The Hounds started off the year without Brady Martin in their lineup too.
Yes.
They obviously got reinforcement that came back. We call them the heart and soul of that team. But there's other players that have stepped up. Chase Reed is just, I've talked about this until I've been blue in the face. Is absolutely gross. Just great.
He's doing Chase Reed things. He's the league leader in TOI. He leads the Greyhounds in scoring. He's second in the league in scoring among defensemen. Yeah, he's well on his way to a first-round selection, probably even a top 10 pick would be my early prediction. So hockey would be crazy not to give him a look at their World Junior team. They at least should give him a look because he's outstanding.
Zane Parekh make it last year, you know, and hopefully he doesn't get the Zane Parekh treatment in general. But I'm talking, again, you know, different, but it seems that some of those players do get passed by. If it's Canadian, if it's American, if it's whatnot, World Juniors will be interesting. You know, Brady Martin's going to be on the Canadian team. You know, it's just wondered to see if anyone else would be on that team too, from a Greyhound perspective or the Ontario Hockey League. And you look at, you know, with Michael Misa and him, you know,
Jake O'Brien,
O'Brien. Yes, there's
probably make a case. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of OHL representation. Ethan Belchetz will probably make a case for that.
Even though a big power forward, man.
But yeah, like he has skill. Like he's big, but he can skate and he has some skill there. Yeah, there's going to be OHL representation. From the Barrie Colts, I don't know if Baudouin. Did he go last year? Gouin? I can't remember.
But you know, McKenna's probably is to be back there again too. We can't forget McKenna's going to be from Penn State, who's not in junior. He'll be on.
Port Martone and Jack Ivankovich, who are now playing NCAA, but did formerly play in the OHL. They will be there. Carter George will probably be the starter, and probably I would assume that Kashawn Aitchison will be there as well on defense. So.
Guy knows how to hit bodies. But let me say, we'll make predictions next week. But there's so many people from the OHL representation or former, well, just talking Porter Martone anyways. Obviously, McKenna was in representation of the WHL. But ultimately, the OHL this year has seen that the Western Conference is more competitive than the Eastern Conference. And the Hounds sit at third place. And Trudes, the Hounds this weekend have a few games this weekend, okay? And those games, just to give you a reminder, this week, they play Saturday, November the 22nd is when they play. Then they don't play till Friday. So they got one game this week, and it's against London, a team that they lost in the shootout to on Sunday of last weekend, 3-2. But London is here, so it's a little home-and-home matchup for the Hounds. And at that game, despite being an entertain-as-heck game, there's a big thing going on. And that is Jeff Carter's jersey retirement that is happening on Saturday at 7:07's puck drop. And you're going to have his jersey get retired up in the rafters and joining likes of Wayne Gretzky and joining the recent Jumbo Joe Thornton, who I've not followed into the bathroom when he was here. Reminds you of that story to give you a little bit of a chuckle. But Jeff Carter's number, when I think of Greyhounds, Trudes, you know, I know I was young for Thornton's time here. I remember, kind of, briefly, but my recollection and really my big memories were Tyler Kennedy, Jeff Carter, not saying together, just overall Jeff Carter coming down that side wing and firing a wrist shot top Chad every time. Little reference there for, you know what I mean by saying that, but score like Jeff Carter, and his number is deserving of being retired. And I love that the Hounds are doing this for players that should be recognized. And people may not agree. Gotta think Colin Miller gets up there in the future. Does Ryan Sproul get considered, given that he is arguably one of the best Greyhounds of all time defensively from a statistics and award perspective? But speaking of someone like Jeff Carter, who had pretty stellar long NHL career, Stanley Cup winner, and against London, where his hometown is, it just seems all fitting, right, Trudes? What a great thing we're going to see this weekend here in Sault Ste. Marie.
Well, yeah, Saturday is going to be a busy day because it's also the Santa Claus parade that's hitting Queens. So if you're going to the game, get there early because, yeah, it's going to be a crazy day. And I think everybody's going to be downtown in Sault Ste. Marie. But no, like, it's a great thing. And when you see, players, NHL alumni, NHL, like guys that have gone on to the NHL and have really, really good careers come back and their jersey is honored, like that's a huge night for the current and current Knights as well, right? Because they get to see a guy that they grew up watching on their TVs, and he played at this very spot, and he was in their skates at one point. And so it's good for them to see that. It's good for the community to have somebody of that stature come back and pay homage to the community, and it's good for the community to recognize like Jeff as a legendary Hound and all he did for this community and for the organization, and vice versa. And it's just a great night for everybody, and it's great to see. And it puts, as Shorzy says, it puts bums in seats, and everybody's happy with that. Like, but no, the Joe Thornton night was, I remember that game. That was an outstanding game. And when he came, and they wore some sick uniforms that night, and they're gonna wear some sick uniforms on Saturday. It's the uniforms when I grew up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
You know what? Honestly, and I'm going to say this flat out, I've been in contact with the Soo Greyhounds representation too, and media availability is quite light on that opportunity, despite what the Game Sports podcast has been able to bring on as guests with this show and our access. Jeff Carter will definitely have kind of like the Joe Thornton treatment when he's here. There was a lot of events and a lot of movement in the community and stopping in and doing those type of work. So I would expect the same for Jeff. So in terms of anything that we can do from our end with videos, we will do what we can to try to give you what we can. I said Ken 3 different times there, but not to expect like a full exclusive. I don't have that for you. Someone else in the community may have that through Greyhound representation and partnership, but nonetheless, we will give what we can from a picture preview or anything perspective. Trues is going to be there. I know I've already mentioned that unfortunately can't make it, so we might be relying on some Trude's photos and maybe some media work down in the media room. Who knows? Getting some pictures where I ran into Joe Thorpe. Maybe he'll follow him into the bathroom like I did. No, don't do that. But nonetheless, we'll have some reaction as best as we can for you with Jeff Carter's retirement ceremony here in Sault Ste. Marie as I start to lose my voice there. So Trude's, we talked about OHL. We talked about what's going on for the Hounds. Last thing I want to touch about with the Hounds is this week against London, that game being a good little game. I don't want to say measuring stick game because the Hounds are right there with London, but I'm sure they would like to honor Jeff Carter on his night and get a win against his hometown team. But it's going to be one heck of a game to watch, good fast game to watch. So I think the Hounds have a key to defeat here is capitalize on the opportunities that they get in the scoring areas and to make sure that they really drive the net and be aggressive from an old school perspective. I think that's what's really going to get through against London. And of course, defensively, goaltending, but defensively, the Hounds are really going to have to be strategic in their defensive zone. But I think those are going to be ways and keys to the game to be successful. But what about yourself, Trudes? What's a quick key on the game before we wrap up Chuck a Puck?
Power play. Power play needs to get going. They are third in the Western Conference right now, but their power play is second last in the league. And I mean, I'll take it, but man, just make it easier, right? Make it easier on themselves, and hopefully that man advantage can find some execution. I think it's gotten a lot better since the start of the season in terms of control, dangerousness, entries, and puck movement, but we're just not seeing consistent results. So hopefully that power play can get going at some point. And I'm going to be tough on them, Dave. I feel like we need to see more from this current core to make them legitimate. Like the past weekend was a really, really solid step in the right direction. They showed what they can do. They can beat the powerhouses in the league, but more consistent play has to continue to be for them to be truly in the mix this year. So let's go out. Let's beat London. Let's go out, finish off November with 3 solid wins, 1 in Sarnia and 1 in Flint next weekend. Prove yourselves. Do it now so that it'll make Kyle Raftis' decision easy when it comes to buying in January.
Yeah, and I think I think this Hound team should be buying, despite how good Brantford's doing on the other side. It's again stress the difference in competitiveness in the conferences right now, that the team that comes out of the West could still, despite how good Brantford's doing or how much they buy, and the road being the easiest doesn't mean you count out the team from the West that comes out of there, because either way, there's some powerful teams in there to look at. Windsor's looking pretty threatening. London, the Hounds can't be put to the side as well. So I think it's supporting this cast, and Brady Martin might not be somebody back next year, given what he's done and starting with Nashville. So I think you got to look and see that, all right, this is an opportunity for us to be aggressive a little bit here at this deadline. And if not, if you don't want to be, then maybe you stay put or you move out and try to still replenish. But I can't see that. I think given what the team's plan is, you're not going for the Memorial Cup next year. I think it's time to look at, really buying for this year and next year based on some returnees that can happen. So, Trudes, it's been Chuck a Puck here, my friend. So I want to say thank you for taking the time, as always, and even throwing your comments about the NHL there. Our Canadian team's really not doing any proud Canadian moves there, especially this team that I just pointed at on video. I'm sure people can put that together. I still have my Blue Jays hat up. I couldn't take it down because I am so damn proud of that team. I'm like a proud dad of that team. But Trudes, my friend, not enough time to talk about baseball. Connor hopefully can join on to next week, and if you can accompany, you can, sure. But we'll talk a little baseball news at that point. But I want to say thank you, my friend, as always.
Yep. No, thanks for having me. It's always fun to be on here.
Yep, and we'll be in touch about some content at the game for this weekend.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Yeah.
What?
That's Jordan Trudeau, and we've had Brennan and we've had Trudes on. Look, you know what? From an in-the-pocket perspective, I want to make sure that when I discuss and talk about in-the-pocket, that I like getting into the scenarios of college football and news from an NFL perspective. But I want to talk about 2 things this week when it comes to in-the-pocket. And before I talk about in-the-pocket, I'll make sure I give you a shout-out here, of course, with our proud partner of In the Pocket being Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar, rated Sault Ste. Marie's best sports bar, best wings for multiple years in a row. Look, great atmosphere, the original home of the Game Sports Podcast, previously the Game Sports Show. Okay, just letting you know. That rhymes. Power rankings this week, if you look at NFL.com, they got the Rams at 1, they got the Colts at 2, they got the Eagles at 3, Seahawks at 4, Broncos at 5, Patriots 6, Bills at 7, and then you have the Lions at 8, Packers at 9, and the 49ers at 10. There's some surprises in that top 10. If you would have told me that the Broncos, if you would have told me the Colts, and if you would have told me that the Patriots would be in the top 10, let alone just above, and with the Lions being 6-4 at this time in the season, that's the beauty about the NFL season. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen any given season, and teams have flourished and have grown. And we're getting to that 10-game mark in the season. We're looking at, obviously week 12, 10, 11 games. And the power rankings have moved a lot throughout the year, throughout this season. The Chiefs have fell from 8 all the way to 15 as per NFL.com. They're 500. They're at risk of not making the playoffs. And if you look from a standings perspective, as I pull them up here on my screen, obviously the AFC East, the Patriots are running away with it, not the Bills. The Bills need to get their butts in gear if they want to catch up to the Pats, who are believing they're a playoff team. It'd be crazy to think that they aren't. The AFC North, you got the Steelers. The Ravens are coming, though. You couldn't count out the Ravens, okay? Steelers had a couple losses. The Ravens are capitalizing, winners of 4 straight. The AFC South, the Colts are running, but you can't count out the Jags, okay, after an impressive week last week, but I think the Colts got that locked up. Broncos ahead of the Chargers and Chiefs. Look, the Chiefs are in 3rd place in their division. I haven't seen that. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes can't be happy with that, but the season's still young. I don't think the Broncos, they're winners of 8 in a row. And this week for the Denver Broncos, right, when you see the Denver Broncos, they have a chance because they're off this week. They play the Commanders on the 30th, is what I meant to say. Will that hurt the momentum? Is what people have been asking me through text. Okay, you talk about your pick 'em. Are you still going to pick when the Broncos return next week? Are you thinking they're going to be improving to 10-2? I don't think the momentum stops. Okay, they got the Commanders, then they got the Raiders, and the Commanders right now are 3-8, and the Raiders are 2-8. These are teams in their division that I think they can beat easily. The Broncos might be clinching this division faster than you think. So if you think the Chiefs are making the playoffs, they're going to have to look at some wild card, and they're going to need some favors done. They're going to need the Chargers, the Ravens, Steelers, these other teams to lose, and the Chiefs are going to not have. They need to come on a little bit of a tear to try to solidify at least a wild card spot, but kind of hard to see them not make the playoffs or not think that they wouldn't be in the playoffs. The NFC East, the Eagles looking like they're going to run away with that division. Not surprised. The Bears in first in the NFC North. Like what? I thought the Packers and Lions would be running away with that division. Neck and neck. But right now they are neck and neck in 2nd and 3rd place behind the Bears. Bears winners of 3 in a row. The NFC South, look, Buccaneers, the Panthers are over 500. The Falcons looking brutal, 5 straight losses. Look, sorry, Falcons fans, you ain't going anywhere this year. The Buccaneers, Panthers are going to be battling for the NFC South. Be hard to see the Buccaneers not lose that spot, though. But the NFC West, the Rams, 8-2. We got the Seahawks and the Niners at 7-3 and 7-4 records, respectively. And the Rams are winners of 5 in a row. They were 3-2. 3-2. This NFL season is just full of surprises. I think NFL season last year was maybe a bit more exciting, let's call it, to be fair. But the surprises and storylines this year are fantastic. So power rankings are out. That was the standings going through how everything's neck and neck going into week 12 in the NFL. And we are seeing some exciting NFL football. And I'm going to put aside college football until next week. I'm going to go right into the pick'em and taking that pick'em standings update for you, and taking that spot of Justin Heichel. Hike's picks in first with 106. The David Decision, yours truly, with 103. The Broken Wheel, which is EJ at 100. Tyler Willett at 85. Tyler Willett did not submit his picks last week. And EJ even is still at 100 after missing 1 week. But that week that he did miss, Heichel and myself had 6 and 5 respectively. So he didn't miss out by much, which is quite both embarrassing, but yet impressive on both accounts for myself and Heichel, but for EJ. But for this week, the standings could change around because this could be one of those trap weeks for a lot of these teams that you think are going to win, but might not. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are in that not favored to win piece, which, to be honest, You'll hear my picks in a second. I never pick bias. I go by true picks for you to reference. Thursday nighter, I got the Bills over the Texans. I did pick the Bears over the Steelers this week. The Patriots over the Bengals, Lions over the Giants, Packers over the Vikings, Seahawks over the Titans, Chiefs will beat the Colts at home, only because they're at home. Ravens will beat the Jets. I'm going to go with the Raiders over the Browns, the Jags over the Cardinals, Eagles over the Cowboys, Falcons over the Saints in an absolute toilet bowl of a game this week, Rams over the Buccaneers, and the Niners over the Panthers. 28-17 49ers over the Panthers, 34-30 Rams over the Bucks. Most points this week, Ravens, and the least to be the Jets. Toilet bowl for me this week is, of course, congratulations to the Falcons and the Saints. That's my toilet bowl, even over the Ravens and the Jets. For my game of the week, and I was torn, but you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think I should have been. I'm going to go with the Chiefs and Colts. That's my game of the week this week. Sunday, 1 o'clock. We'll start off your Sunday afternoon with a bang, and then the Sunday afternoon games, mid-afternoon games, you know what? I think that's time if you need to go do some errands or walk your dog. No offense to the Jags, Eagles, Falcons, Cardinals, Cowboys, or Saints. Even the Raiders or Browns, you can step away from it. I think Eagles fans might be throwing harpoons at me for that, throwing little spears at me. Given that in the Sunday night game, the Rams and Bucks, I think it's going to be underrated good game. Even the Monday nighter is going to be an underrated good game. But the Sunday afternoon is where it's at for me. Bears, Steelers. You got the Packers, Vikings, which I think is still an underrated game. It's a divisional matchup, but Colts and Chiefs going to be one heck of the game. Falcons, Saints, toilet bowl, Chiefs, Colts, game of the week, in my opinion. Now, those are our picks. Let us know your picks below, and don't forget to chirp us on our picks. You only get to hear mine. You don't get to hear Justin, the EJ's, or Tyler's, but nonetheless, go with the David decision, because the decision is always right. Kidding. I have 103. I'm hovering just under 70%. So you know what? Just saying as a joke. Now, nonetheless, getting to the conclusion of the show, these are the quicker in the pocket segments that I've had these last couple of weeks because of being solo, missing Justin and the crew. Normally, we spare 15, 20 minutes for in the pocket, but today we are still keeping the show under an hour. We're well under an hour, actually, so I do have 12 minutes or so to play with, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take this time to actually, conclude the show, and for you to have been a part of it up to this point, we appreciate it, and we hope that you enjoyed the NHL discussion, the OHL and Soo Greyhound discussion, and the NFL discussion within the pocket. And I want to say thank you to Brendan McCarthy and to Jordan Trudeau for taking the time to join as always each week, and to everyone who always joins with the Game of Sports podcast family. And a special shout out to the interns who have joined the family with 91 and the Game of Sports podcast. A reminder to check out the Ryan Sproul show last week. That is uploaded on YouTube and all platforms last week. Fantastic episode, was so fun, especially from the Soo. You should take the time to enjoy it. Pleasure having Ryan on, and we look forward to having more special edition shows as we proceed. And to remind you, next week we will have an edition. We'll have hopefully the full Top Shelf crew, hopefully the In the Pocket crew, hopefully we have a full roster next week. But I wanted to save the last piece and the best piece of news for last, in terms of from a good side. And I also have one for a special piece of news from a sad side. So those are the two last pieces I want to say for last. And I am going to go with the more sad news before I go into the happy news. Last Sunday, it would have been was the passing of my grandfather. So that is why we did not have a show last week. So obviously it's been a little bit challenging for my family. So I want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out for that to me personally, social media. But we apologize. We didn't have a new show last week. We did have a special edition upload for you in place of that. But I wanted to say, obviously, rest in peace to my grandpa who passed away. And again, thank you to everyone who had reached out. From a more happy perspective, and that we will save for last, here is this Friday is my wife's birthday. So I want to say happy early birthday to my amazing wife, Hannah. She's a big part of this show as well, but also our life. And obviously bringing a son to this world this year, there's been a lot of great, and I'm very lucky to have her. Okay, guys, look, I'm not afraid to admit on air that better half. Okay, that I'm very lucky to have her. So love my wife, and happy birthday to her for this week. Definitely going to be a great birthday and enjoyable with family as well. Hope everyone out there enjoyed this edition of the game. And until next week, I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch touchdowns, strain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.